Calculating your first house hack can seem daunting, but don't worry. We're going to break it down for you so that you feel completely prepared to run the numbers and feel confident going into your next potential house hack. We want to show you exactly what numbers to look at and how to determine if a deal is right for you. Hey guys, I am Danielle Daly. I am a two-time house hacker, and I'm so excited to share a topic with you today that is super important when it comes to tackling your next deal. First things first, you need to define your investment goals. Are you looking for quick profits through potentially flipping, or are you more interested in the house hacking strategy like we're talking about today, where you could potentially have long-term gains from cash flow and appreciation? For this video, we're going to focus specifically on a house hacking deal. So this is where you rent by the room, and the principles can be applied to other strategies, but just want you to know this is specifically for house hacking. It is also worth noting that when it comes to an investment property, everyone's goals are different. So for some people, AKA me, when it came to my first investment, spending less than $600 a month on my portion of the rent was a huge win. That to me was just spending less than an apartment, but also potentially appreciating and having a long-term rental for the future. For others, maybe cash flow is more important, or maybe breaking even. So just make sure that you really hone in on what your exact goals are for your next investment. Let's say we're buying a rental property and using the house hacking strategy. Here's a property listed for $500,000. It's a 5-bedroom and 3-bath. The first thing that we need to do is calculate the potential rental income. So when you're calculating the rental income, the first thing you want to do is look for comps. You want to look in the area and utilize tools such as Facebook Marketplace or Zillow or even Realtor.com to essentially assess what can I get for each room to calculate that entire rental property for the house. In this specific neighborhood, let's say that comparable house hacks are going for around $4,000 per month with all the rooms rented. It's also worth noting that when your room is empty after you move out of this property, that you will eventually have more rental income. So just make sure you factor that in your numbers as well. The annual rental income is your monthly rent times 12. So monthly rent for you for house hacking is going to be potentially all 5 rooms when you move out. 4, of course, when you're living there. In our case, let's call it $3,000 per month in rental income while you are living in the house. Times 12, that equals $36,000 per year, with the caveat that when you move out of your room, you're going to get more rental income. So be sure to factor that in your numbers as well. So next, we need to calculate the total operating expenses. So this includes property taxes, insurance, maintenance, property management fees, and any other recurring costs that come about. One of the best tools that you can use to calculate all of this in one place and save all the reports that you run is the BiggerPockets rental calculator with BiggerPockets Pro. You can go pro today at biggerpockets.com/pro now. So let's break it down. We have property taxes, let's call it roughly $2,000 per year. Insurance, roughly $1,000 per year. Maintenance, let's call it roughly $1,500 per year. And maintenance includes a lot of different things. That could include repairs, appliance maintenance, seasonal expenses like pest control and lawn care, even cleaning fees, should you decide to do that, because in a house hack, things can get dirty and it can be a little hard to require people to actually clean. And then maybe even some paint and spackle and paintbrushes and supplies to touch up the rooms when your tenants eventually move out and you have to replace that room. Also, the property management fees. It's worth noting that you don't have to necessarily calculate that into the numbers if you don't want to. I did not on my first 2 properties because I do self-manage. Now, there will come a time I will want to hire a property manager. So it is worth noting eventually I will have to pay for that, but it really is to each their own, whether or not you want to include that in your numbers. For this specific example, we are not including the property management fees. As a recap, the total operating expenses here amount to about $4,500 per year. Now let's talk about the net operating income. You can calculate that by taking the annual rental income and subtracting the operating expenses. So in our case, that's $36,000 in rental income minus the $4,500 in operating expenses, and that amounts to $31,500 per year in net operating income. Determining financing costs, very important here. So if you're taking out a mortgage, you'll need to factor in your loan payments. So let's assume you're putting 5% down because you're living in the property and it's a house hack. So we get to put down less than 20%. And 5% of that $500,000 property is $25,000 for the down payment. Now, it's also worth noting there's closing costs, but for simplicity of the video, let's just use that $25,000. That leaves us with a loan payment of $475,000, and at a 6% rate, that would mean that we're paying about $28,500 per year in our mortgage, which would be about $23.75 per month. Next, you'll want to calculate your cash flow. Now, this is your net operating income minus your annual mortgage payment. So in our case, that's $31,500 minus $28,500 equals $3,000 per year in cash flow. Next, let's talk about our cash on cash return. So cash on cash return measures the return on the actual cash you invested. So in our calculation, let's go ahead and use that $25,000 down payment that we talked about. So your cash on cash return equals your annual cash flow divided by the total cash invested. So in our case, that is $3,000. Divided by 25,000, which means a 12% cash on cash return. Now to touch on that really quick, cash on cash returns being good, well, that kind of ranges depending on so many factors. It could be the location or even the property type, the market. There's too many factors, but I would say 12% in my opinion is a pretty good cash on cash return. As a recap, we have talked about calculating the potential rental income of your house hack, operating expenses, net operating income, cash flow, and even your cash on cash return. This property offers a 12% return on our cash investment, which is a home run for a first real estate deal if you ask me. I think mine was roughly 16%, so pretty close. Remember, every deal is different, and it's crucial for you to do your own due diligence and to have your goals established before you invest in your first property. Run the numbers, consult with professionals and friends, talk to people, go to meetups, make sure you're running the numbers by them as well, and just make sure you're overall comfortable with the investment before diving in. But also, don't get analysis paralysis and make sure that you do eventually dive in, because diving in is the best learning experience, in my opinion. All right, guys, there you have it. You should now be fully prepared to calculate your next house hack and feel comfortable before diving into your next investment. I really appreciate you watching this video. Again, my name is Danielle Daly, and you can search for me on BiggerPockets.com. I'm always happy to connect and chat. And if you found this video helpful, like and subscribe to the BiggerPockets Rookie channel for more videos just like this. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.